마후에 마후에 또 함께요 함께요
All right, so I'm lucky to have Miss Catherine Bettis.
No, Catherine Pearl.
Oh, Pearl. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Catherine Pearl. Yes.
Okay. KP.
KP, yeah.
Yeah. So sorry.
No worries.
Here in the studio, War Dance Productions. We're starting this podcast that we've been trying to get going for a good while now, but it's summertime, so we've got the opportunity, so we're taking advantage of that. And yeah, we were just talking about, I guess mostly just education in general, but just talking about you graduating from college and me ending my school year. My last year at DAAP was there for 4 years. And I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I did earlier when we were outside, but I'm starting a grad program in the fall, mostly online. Towards the end, I'll have to commute to San Marcos, but at Texas State.
Congratulations.
Yes. It's been almost 20 years since I was last in college, but I'm ready to get back into it. So
that's a big accomplishment. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I always was afraid to go back, because when I was at school, there was a lot of competition because I was at the philosophy department at Texas Tech, and there's a lot of competition for anybody to try to get to grad school because not a lot of people go into that field, and there's not a lot of jobs for it, unless you want to be a writer. Really, that's that would be the most lucrative way to use a philosophy degree is to be a writer if you're not teaching, right?
Yeah.
And even then, what do college professors make?
Yeah. So is that the route you're thinking of going, to be a writer, a published writer, or?
Yes. I mean, I want to hone my skills in argumentation. I want to continue reading new stuff, having the opportunity to do research and being held accountable through the academic system, because I think that does make some people stronger writers. Also, it helps you solidify your ideas, defending your thesis, all of that stuff is really important to having solid, arguments.
Yeah, it definitely sharpens your mind and gets you back into the game if you've been out of it for a while. Because when you're a writer, you have to write every day. Even if it's not something good, you have to write every day to get better.
And I would say right now I do write, but it's as an educator, it's more of a technical writing aspect because you're writing lesson plans, you're writing instructions for your students and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm wanting to get back more into the thought-provoking, deeper inquiries into just human understanding in general. And I've always been that way. The deep person is just
questioning everything.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What is our purpose here on earth? That kind. Okay.
Why is?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, speaking about the pay for teachers, though, I mean, the teacher shortage is happening because, I mean, there's just been so much in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So much stress, so much loss for some people. Some people get sick.
So much burnout.
Yeah, burnout.
I am the oldest of 3 sisters. So my 2 younger sisters, they are both educators. They're both teachers. And we have a group text where they tell me everything they go through. They love teaching. But after this year, they are completely burned out. They just don't feel supported. And with the recent, events that occurred in Uvalde, I think they're just considering another profession, which I don't blame them,
Yeah, I mean, and in terms of support, it's we think about lockdown, for instance, lock in, lockdown, which it's a generational thing. Since Columbine, everybody who's been in school, in public school for the last 20 years has been through those drills. And to this point, it almost seems like we're training our youth on how to do this, but it's also young men who are perpetrating these acts. And so they've been in the school system since all of this started, since Columbine. So they know exactly what the procedures are. are these effective means of dealing with these situations? Should we, like, I know some schools that have, like, you can't even get into the front door without a key card and having to, press a button, has a camera on your face, like technological advancements. And that's not a huge thing. Like, I mean, but like the school at Uvalde, what is it, Robb Elementary, didn't have that kind of stuff. And that also comes back to like some total like systemic things that have been happening in Uvalde as a community.
Yeah.
Because it's always been, well, not always, but from what I understand, I was listening to this NPR story about the first Hispanic teacher to ever teach there having his contract revoked by the board because he was trying to better the school there, because it was primarily for Spanish-speaking Mexican-American students. And that had been that way. It was like almost like it was a segregated school. And the facilities there are still inadequate. Here we are, like, I think that was in the early 70s, maybe the late 60s when that happened. I mean, I'll have to look at the article again, but I mean, we're looking at 30, 40 years ago when all of this had happened. Now we're talking about like 40, 50 years ago.
So they don't get enough funding?
Maybe not they don't get enough funding. Yeah, they don't get enough funding. Maybe that their funding is sequestered, to go to wherever the other elementary school is, because, that's where the taxpayer dollars are, because maybe that's where the more affluent people are. But I do know that, like, there was a big outpour of people that loved that teacher to come to his to support him, to try to keep him there. And the police department back then was like, trying to intimidate the people that were trying to vote at the school board vote for him to stay, holding guns on the top of the school, when they were coming to do their vote. And that's not new. Like, that's been going on in communities all over the country where there's, minority presence or Mexican American presence, So.
And then for a community that for the most part doesn't feel safe around the police.
Right.
Like, after this incident, I just see like a lot of people just losing hope, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them in that community. Like, I don't think there will ever be that complete trust in the police system. There were already a lot of fear based around the police. And then after this, I think everybody there is like in shock. And I'm actually surprised at how the news has been reporting the story, because I was kind of worried that there were going to be like, sometimes news stations, they lack like ethics and they get all in the people's faces while there's their mourning, which I hate.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I feel like people have been highlighting the good out of it, like the lady that went inside and rescued the children, But it definitely changed a lot of things.
And I think there's some accountability being pushed towards the police department there. I've heard that the FBI is investigating them, and they've been uncooperative because they're being held accountable, either for inaction or lack of action. And then I hear things about trying to put it in perspective that, like, they don't have the budget, as a big like Bexar County and SAPD. Like, I heard McManus say that, oh yeah, first officer on the scene in San Antonio would be in there immediately. And, he was saying, I don't want to compare it to them because it's this conversation about budget. They don't have the budget to do that. But I mean, does budget really have to do with like somebody taking immediate action?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how many police you have. Like, somebody has to take immediate action. They all have the same training. They all have the same.
And the oath they took.
The oath that they took, yeah.
You know what I mean? It
yes.
just comes down to character and the oath you took to protect people. So, there's obviously lack of accountability there and other issues as well. Right.
And I mean, that was something like you said earlier today, talking about like systemic racism at a time when it was just overwhelming. May that have been, during the pandemic, people trying to have those conversations.
It was definitely, I don't know if you remember when there was the whole insurgents at the White House.
Yes.
And everybody was posting about it. Like, if it was some kind of joke, everybody was posting memes about it. Yeah. And they had a comment on it. And I was just like, this is really serious.
Yeah.
Like, this is, we shouldn't be joking about this.
Yeah.
Like, I know that in our culture, in our community, like, we use laughter to heal.
Right.
It's really like heavy situations. But all I was thinking is like, this is really serious, because Like, it's gotten to a point where, like, people that are willing to do really violent acts, like, will, like, barge into the White House.
Right.
And that whole situation even seems shady because how
Yeah.
are they allowed in there? You know, and
Right.
of course, that presidency, the whole term that person was there, which I
Yeah.
will not name his name. I always called him 45, was very stressful on me and my family.
I can imagine.
So I didn't like joking about it because, like,
Directly affects you.
yeah, it directly affects me to a different degree because a lot of people don't know. Like, I was undocumented until I was like 25. So anybody that tries to debate immigration with me or like everything has to be done by the law, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to debate with you. I've
Right.
done it like growing up all my life. I had a very different life experience. That was one of the reasons why college took me so long to finish. And for like my teens, I was like severely depressed
Mhm.
because I did not know what was going to happen like in my future. Like, I was always into school. And when I was graduating high school, I said, what's going to happen in my future? Like, what am I going to do? This was before DACA, before anything was actually being discussed like in legislation. So now I'm happy that there's programs like DACA and things being discussed. But before, you kind of just like YOLO'd it. You know, you kind of just figured life out. And for a lot of people, it just felt like your dreams were being crushed. Like,
Right.
why am I here? I didn't, I was brought here when I was a baby by my parents. And so there was a lot of like angst and fear and confusion that I didn't know how to express to them, but it was expressed through self-harm. So nobody can tell me like I guess, how to feel regarding that subject. And I guess when the insurrection happened, I let my friends know, I don't want to discuss this. Like, I have always discussed this since I was a child. Like, I'd like to like relax, watch a Netflix show, and just like put it aside for a moment.
Right.
Because it wasn't a joke to me,
Right. And that's, and thank you for, sharing that with us because, I mean, with everybody who's listening too, because that can't be easy. And I'm, we say the word privilege, but I was born here with a lot of opportunity in the States. And so I would never try to change your mind about your own experience. That seems like absurd to me. But like, there's definitely people out there that would, because, they have dominant views, like we were talking about. Their perspective of their worldview is based on dominant view, and they're dug in, and they're not gonna grow, and they're not gonna give an inch of where they are, and that's unfortunate. With that said, talking about coming back to the Uvalde shooting, is that week that it happened, like, I mean, we all got calls at school, like, there's an active shooter in Uvalde right now. And we're like, just like, all I could say was like, think to myself is, when is it going to stop? And then to find out the impact of it, like who the victims were, all of these little kids, kids as old as my daughter, students. I've worked in elementary, these are young kids that are just so innocent, like they don't deserve any of that. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. Like, and everybody was talking about it in our lounge during lunch. And I'm just like, I gotta go sit in my room and just eat away from this. Cause it is that draining, because it's almost like there's nothing being done to prevent it.
And I think that's where the frustrating part comes in. It's like, okay, can we talk about solutions now?
Yeah.
Or because we already know that it's going to be
Right.
a cycle. So can we talk about solutions? Can we talk about community getting together and forming a plan so we feel safe? Because we obviously don't feel safe around police. And I think the conversations are just more about the details of the shooter and really intimate details about the family, which is really sad. Even, with the shooter, I think his last name was Ramos, so he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
So again, the discussion around mental health and
absolutely.
whatever he was going through, not to justify at all his actions.
No.
Because they do not justify his actions, but
preventative measures. I mean, it's important to identify the behavior, before it escalates, and bring these people in. And I don't mean like bring them in like to jail and punish them. I mean, just bring them in so there is some sort of attempt to get them what they need, because I mean, there's definitely a need there that's not being met. And like you said with the stigma, I mean, it's a smaller town. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Like we are in Texas, and there's just not a whole lot of support at the state level funding, at the federal level funding for people who are out of school, like, for mental health and just in general, like especially people who are low income,
Exactly. And also like discussing the importance of like getting mental health care that is culturally appropriate.
Right.
Because
Yes.
I have had experiences where I've gone to like therapy and the therapist looks at me with like wide eyes and doesn't understand the context. So I'm having to like reteach her things about my culture. And I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
So that definitely needs to be addressed as well. Because if it's not, it can lead to like miscommunication or someone being felt like they weren't heard. Actually, now that I think about it, there was someone that I follow on Instagram. I wish I could remember his name, but he's from the Lakota tribe. And there was actually a big miscommunication within him and hospital staff because he suffered from depression and they saw scars on his chest and they thought self-harm.
Right.
But there was ceremony and they like didn't let him leave.
Oh, wow.
So conversations like that need to be brought up because if they're not, it seems like even doctors are not aware of like certain cultural intricacies.
Right.
And it's weird that they don't teach that like in med school or I would think that they would, but I guess not.
Yeah, and I get that too because I have scars on my chest from Sundance, and people are like, what is that? And I always thought like you refer to like, because I mean in pop culture there's a Man Called Horse. It's a Richard Harris movie where he's, I think, with the Shoshone or something like that, and he pierces, and it's an old Western, but like we're getting further and further away from when that movie was made. Like nobody understands the context, like and those things like we've talked about, like the representation not only in history but like in the media itself, like what we don't have culturally appropriate perspectives of who we are as peoples in our own country even. And so there's nothing for doctors to work with, especially when it comes to mental health, because like there's other ways that we deal with our mental health too,
that are valid,
yeah.
And we've been using for a while,
for hundreds if not thousands of years,
yeah.
So and not only like what Uvalde was happening, because we're talking about mental health, I mean, and not just like mass shootings, but just violence in general amongst young men to women, to themselves, in groups. I mean, there were stabbings that happened just few weeks before that. And that's why it was just like, because we at DAP, we talk about those things because we're like, I wonder if that was one of our students, are we going to end up getting that student over here or something like that? Like that ends up, ends up being a discussion that we have. But like we hear about those things all the time, and to have like two stabbings, one that was in a city outside of Austin, and then like I think one on the south side of San Antonio, and then just like 3 weeks later to have this mass shooting, 2 weeks after a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, at a grocery store, where a kid put it on Twitch too. And then like people were watching it as it happened.
And what does that say about like the general public?
Right.
Like I know that people have been kind of like isolated because of the pandemic. Like everybody's boundaries changed. For the people that had the privilege to work at home, they worked at home. For those that had to work out, with the public, they had to just make it work, But I definitely feel like I don't want to place it just on the pandemic. I feel like there have been several issues leading up to that.
Right.
Or like, what's going on? Like, why would anybody even tune in to see that? Like, what is going through their mind?
And like this reemergence of like this new kind of wave of fascism that's like worldwide is like a pandemic itself. Because, I mean, it started with, 45, here. And I'm not going to say it started there, but that's where it just got emboldened.
It did.
Yes.
People felt very comfortable with acts of violence. They felt very comfortable putting on that red hat.
Dehumanization again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like the dehumanization part is just like how comfortable people were able to just like put down even just an opponent of a political party, not even like, person of another race. Because of course, if you're going to, because political parties, they're really imagined to me, and you have to take some work to like really be dug in them and not to be separated from your own humanity. But like to have that and just dehumanize another person just for another political party is just like ridiculous. And it's sad. It's sad that like people were so willing. Like it's like they felt like they were trapped and weren't able to behave this way for so long. But like, for what reason?
Like what emboldened them?
Yeah.
Well, and in a way, it's kind of like, okay, in a way, we get to see what people are thinking because they probably were thinking it already, but now they felt comfortable like putting it out there. But also just like the surprising comments made, because at that time, in the first election, I used to have Facebook. I do not have Facebook no more. And one of the reasons was like I got tired of seeing people like arguing on there. And at that time, I did align with the Democrat Party. After the pandemic, I was just more like disillusioned with everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was just like, wow, this is really bad.
Yeah,
There's no leadership.
Yes. I mean, because I can be critical of every single president,
Yeah.
They've all done things that, and because that amount of power is corruptive, like in general. Like, you're going to do something that will affect somebody's daily life in a negative way, just having that much power. So, I mean, you can go back and look at any president and you can pick apart things that they've done that are illegal, things that are questionable, immoral. It doesn't matter who they are. And that's what sucks about this, having a two-party system too. It's just like,
and also kind of like being told, okay, pick the lesser of two evils. It's like, no. How about we just change the whole system because we live here? And how about we like enact, like I think I didn't hear no mention of third party candidate Mark Charles. He was indigenous and he had some really good ideas on the platform. I don't think I saw women on the ticket, which I was very disappointed. And then going back to the violence in schools and in general, like I think it relates to like the whole, I don't know, the whole like hatred of women. Why is so much femicide occurring?
Right.
Like both like in the United States and in Mexico and Central America. Like what is it about women that a lot of men with these toxic ideals like are hearing? Because they are being indoctrinated. Like if you go on TikTok, there are a bunch of podcasts giving advice to young men, and it's very toxic advice.
Right.
It's advice on how to disrespect women, on how women are this or that, like calling them out of their name. And I'm like, how did this become acceptable? You know what I mean? Because you're very vulnerable when you're young.
Right.
So if you don't have like a mentor, a father figure, a family that's like healthy and stable, you're going to look for guidance or direction somewhere. And the internet is free.
Yeah.
Everybody has access to the internet. So I am seeing like an uprise in that too. Like the internet is great to educate and empower yourself, but it also can be like really scary and detrimental. And I think actually they looked at the shooter's like web browser history. And what he was looking at was a lot of channels that were like very violent towards women. So I think that really needs to be addressed. And I think men need to do the work.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, women are kind of left with the work of like saying, hey, we're dying. And it's like, okay, can y'all do the work then? Like, can y'all talk to like other men or what is going on? Because when we say it, a lot of times we're not heard or we're made fun of or we're told we're kind of exaggerating. And it's like, no, this is actually kind of scary because I'd like to live in a world where I could raise daughters and where I feel safe, they feel safe.
Right.
So I definitely think it's relatable, I can't remember the name of that guy. I don't even want to mention his podcast, but he has gone viral for disrespecting women on his podcast channel.
Wow.
And he always gives advice, to young men on how toxic women are. And I guess his experience, he's projecting it onto like other women. You know what I mean? Just because he had a bad experience dating
Right.
doesn't mean that
Is he
you
that
can make
that
the
red
assumption.
pill guy?
I don't
I don't
know
even
if
wa-
he's red pill, but I
Yeah.
just know that I'm just in my head. I'm thinking like, do you really believe that, or are you
Yeah.
just trying to go viral? Like, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But I think he really. I don't know who hurt him, but someone hurt him really bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and it's funny you say that too, because you say, I don't know if he really believes that or if he's just trying to go viral,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Is people project ideas that they don't even believe in just for the sake of this social media status.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because, yeah, definitely there's an income to be made there, but
Mm-hmm.
why? Why, like,
People want to go viral. People want to be famous for doing stupid stuff or saying the most outrageous thing. And a lot of the times it's really out there and it's really disrespectful. But there's a lot of like really violent stuff towards women on TikTok.
right.
Which TikTok has been caught out for because they haven't like done the best job to like block it.
Right.
But when you try to discuss things about race or gender, educated conversations, they'll block you. They have blocked a lot of indigenous TikTokers, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I mean, definitely a bias like that's people are aware of. Like, I mean, you're speaking on it, but it's funny because like then we have this conversation about censorship, but like there's
Going
like
back to the fascism thing.
yeah, I mean, is it really censorship to like? I mean, because there are real world effects
Mm-hmm.
that we're seeing from them, like they're
Mm-hmm.
consequences
Mm-hmm.
of speech,
Mm-hmm.
and like in some ways that they should be regulated.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have this platform or this voice to say that are harmful things that end up with, violence towards women.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I mean, our words are powerful.
Yes, they are,
I
absolutely.
believe that our words, I write too. I haven't written in a while, but I definitely believe that our words are powerful. Like if you're around, for example, if you're around positive people who are always like uplifting you, you definitely see your energy change.
Right.
As opposed to people that are always negative or just always criticizing, you'll see that.
Right.
So just think of the internet where you have a large platform and you know that you have a large following and you know what you're saying and you know you're going to get a reaction. And I'm just concerned that there is a lot of men out there, grown men. I'm not talking about like 17, because even not that it would be excusable if they were 17, but I would be like, oh, their brain hasn't developed yet.
Yeah.
But grown men, 40, 45, 50 men. So giving this toxic advice, which is scary because you don't know who's on the other end listening to it and agreeing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Man, that is a lot. That is a lot. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation because, I mean, I feel like I just learned a lot, having your perspective here, and that was great. I appreciate you coming out here.
Yes, for sure.
I just want to, I guess maybe we should have a formal, like, send-off goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Pablo Mancias, and
and I'm Catherine Pearl.
And we have yet to figure out a name for this podcast.
Yeah, we have yet to figure out a name, but I feel like it's definitely going to be a lot of knowledge-based.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And this is War Dance Productions. Thank you to our producer, Joel McKenna Ray. Oh, man. I'm getting everybody's names wrong here today. So tell me again.
It's McMinrena.
McMinrena. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Jeez, I've been saying it wrong for a whole year, dude. Thank you to our podcast producer, Joel McMenna Ray. Oh my God, I didn't get it right again, but we will see you guys here soon again. I'm going to turn it over to Catherine for this next one, so be looking out for that one. We'll have a very special guest coming up, so thank you guys for listening, and have a great day. Take care of each other.
Thank you. Have a great day.